11:01. It's time for Wolo, friends, on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo. Look up on the wall. There on the wall.
Good Thursday morning. Well, Bill Belichick, out of nowhere. I shouldn't say. We've been speculating for weeks, but still, it seems to me so odd that at 72, never having been a college football coach, 14 wins away from tying the record for the most victories in the history of any NFL coach, is leaving for half the price. Now, that's a little misleading. He's going to get $10 million a year for 5 years, which, by the way, is double what they were paying Mac Brown, who, by the way, is 1 year older than Bill Belichick. And they said he was too old to coach at 73. When this is over, Belichick will be 77. But it didn't go well the last couple of years for Mac Brown. I don't blame North Carolina for making that deal, and I don't blame Mac Brown for letting them fire him because it meant a big payout. So this was all done for money. The Belichick thing is very interesting. I really don't know why he didn't get an NFL job. I'm shocked that there weren't more teams interested in his services. Maybe he was demanding too much. But the $10 million he's going to make, double what Mac Brown made, is half of what he was making as the coach of the New England Patriots. The dude was making $20 million a year. But $10 million is not anything to sneeze at. I'd take 1 year of that and live happily ever after. But at 72, having to deal with recruiting. And it's interesting to me, did you see Michael Lombardi, who is a relative of the great Vince Lombardi, I still think considered the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. I would make an argument it was Papa Bear Hallis. You could probably counter and beat me on that argument with Lombardi. They do name the trophy after the dude, right? But Michael Lombardi is going to be the general manager of this team.
How about that?
That's what his title is. And just earlier in the week, before Belichick would even comment on whether or not he was going to take the job, if there was an offer, if there was discussions, he was saying that if he became the North Carolina head football coach, he would run that team as if it was a National Football League team, only not as high quality. But he will pay players NIL money. He learned about that. He will recruit them. And who, if you're a 4-star or 5-star guy thinking you can make the NFL, wouldn't want to be coached by Bill Belichick?
Yeah.
Because you're thinking 6 Super Bowls, development of players like Tom Brady. If I play for this guy, there's a good chance with his development prowess to make me an NFL guy. I mean, to me, that's a major advantage. But does he have the energy at 72 and going forth all the way to 77 to do it? We'll see. We will see. It is a bold move by North Carolina. I don't think this was even at the AD level. I think this was the Board of Trustees that got together and said, we got to figure this out. We have not been competitive in football, really, since the 80s. We're North Carolina, by God. Look what we do in hoops. We should be that way in football. That's what drives college sports. We got to get on the program. Let's get the GOAT. He's he's not the greatest of all time because he's 14 wins short of that. That's what shocks me is I really believed he would go back to the NFL just to get that mark.
Yep.
So now he's not going to get that at all. The NBA Emirates Cup creates a little controversy. Did you see Steve Kerr last night?
I did.
Wow. Now, I must confess, I watched the Atlanta-New York Knicks game. And I watched a little college basketball in between. Kentucky and Colgate wasn't exactly thrilling. St. John's at home against
Bryant.
Bryant.
That's right.
Is the former Tiger that went to Bryant, is he still there?
He is, yeah.
Did he play last night?
He's their best player. Maybe he didn't play last night. I know he's dealt with injuries, but he's one of their best players.
What's his name again? I forgot.
Timberland, Earl Timberland.
Earl, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
It's not Timberland, but it's
Timberlake
close.
or something like that.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
Could be. I think it is Earl Timberlake.
Yeah, I think so.
that's right.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't see him play. I did watch a few moments, but
He might have been out. I don't know.
I watch Steve Kerr go crazy after the game on highlights this morning. I watched what he had to say. 80 feet away from the basket, a loose ball foul, 2 guys diving. You decide a game that way? We want to go to Vegas. I'm mad. And he got up and left. And I've always loved Steve Kerr. I've admired Steve Kerr. There was a little chink in the armor with Steve Kerr when the Grizzlies played them in that series there where his guys acted horrendously, and he enabled them like Draymond Green. And he complained. I think Jordan Poole got hurt in that series, and he called out a cheap shot, which was just a hard play. There was a little doubt in my mind about him. But last night, I didn't see the play. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Does he have a legitimate
Oh,
beef?
yeah. I mean, it probably shouldn't have been called a foul. And if anything, you could make a case that, I forgot who it was, somebody with the Warriors had the ball first on the ground, and you can make an argument that they jumped all over him and probably should have been called a foul on the Rockets at first, and then he, instead of calling a timeout, which I don't know why he didn't call a timeout, he throws the ball to somebody else, and that's when we got the play on the ground. But really, and I heard Charles Barkley make this argument after the game last night, there was like 11 seconds on the game clock, 7 seconds on the shot clock, and Steph takes a deep 3, and he was sitting there going, Steph's a great player, but if you just hold on to that ball and throw it up as the shot clock's expiring, the game's over.
CBSSports.com reported that as a bad shot.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr made this point, and again, I haven't seen the darn play, but Steve Kerr's point was there probably should have been a timeout given to Houston and let them beat us.
Yeah, because Jalen Green was screaming, timeout.
Or let us make a stop, but there's no way that should have been called. But, I mean, then he gets up and walks out with such drama. I'll be very curious because he said basically a middle school referee would not have made that call. So he really came down hard on the refs. Let's see if he gets fined for that or if there are different rules for the great Steve Kerr. Last thing, we're going to talk about this with Pete Pranica. Ron Higgins is going to talk about the SEC release and did the College Football Playoff Committee get it right. Jarvo will join us. We'll talk Frisco Bowl and a whole lot more. So we've got a busy program coming your way for sure in golf. And you know I've got to get to golf because that's my passion. Scotty Scheffler wins his 3rd straight PGA Tour Player of the Year award. And of course he should. He won $30 million last year. He was incredible how well he played last year. But do you know who the last guy to win 3 in a row was? Are we going to start talking in terms? He's going to have to win more majors. But the last guy to win 3 in a row was one Eldrick Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Now, Scotty's going to have enough years to try to go up the ladder. He's only got the 2. He's only won a Masters. He's won a lot of big tournaments, but he's only got the 2. He's only won at Augusta. He has not won any other place. So before we start putting him on that pedestal, he's got to win majors. But that last year was very Tiger-like, who, by the way, is going to play with his son in the PNC. He couldn't play in the Heroes because those are great players. He says he's not ready. He gets to ride in a kart in this. He can actually try to feed off of his son. It's a scramble. It's a 2-man scramble. And his son is good enough to make the Junior U.S. Open last year. Not good enough to make the cut, but good enough to qualify. So we know how good he can be. That'll be fun. I'm glad. Tiger will be back in the PNC. That is coming up. In the meantime, let's head on down the road, talk with our friend Pete Pranica, his Grizz, now quarter of the way through, and they are playing some great basketball. Second in the West, they're 17-8, so that's good with Houston at second place. Pete, they've only had 7 games with the big 3. They're 6-1 in those games. I just marvel at how good they've been even without those 3 playing together. And I'm beginning to think people who are so-called prognosticating experts are starting to rethink where they had the Grizzlies. You've watched them for a lot of years. How would you say this team is playing at this point in terms of overall years? Where would you in quality play, teamwork, defense? Where would you put this team?
I can't imagine them taking really a back seat to any other iteration of the Grizzlies. You can go back to the core four.
Yeah.
But, that was an entirely different style of basketball. What the Grizzlies are doing now with their ball movement, their body movement is something that, believe me, they ain't in the mud. And so it's kind of hard to compare the two different eras. But I think this team has the opportunity to be as successful as those core four teams. So I think they're playing very well. Defensively, they're doing some really good things. I thought they were outstanding defensively against Boston. I know Boston was the fifth game in 7 nights, but, still, it's Boston. It's on the road. You haven't won there in 11 years. So I think that if there's something about this team, Wolo, that is undersold, it is the fact that defensively they've been really, really good. Everybody wants to focus on the offense, and rightly so, because it's been humming along pretty well. But the defense has been a major revelation for this team. And I think that if you ask me what surprises me about this team, it's how good they have been defensively.
Well, that's a good explanation for why they've won 17 of 25 without their big three, except for 7 games, which 6-1. That's pretty telling in its own right. When those three play together, and knock on wood, they'll be playing in a whole lot more games together, which. That's amazing. For me, and you tell me if there's a better, more improved player than Santi Aldama in the league. He's clearly the most improved player on the team. He showed us how good he was going to be at the Olympics when he was playing for his native Spain. But my gosh, I mean, he's really consistent, and he does a lot of different things to help you win.
Yeah, he does. I think it was huge. And some 3 years in the NBA to really get their footing underneath them and to be a very productive player. And this coaching staff continued to challenge Santi about being better all the time, being more physical, being more consistent. And he has done both of those things. There was, I think, earlier in his career, I'm just going to flare out to the three-point line. I'm going to shoot threes. But they have been on him about being more physical as a defender, more physical as a rebounder. He already has more double-doubles this year than he's had in any other year in his career. So the rebounding rate is better. And it doesn't matter whether Santi's coming off the bench or he's starting. He's been productive, and it's great to see.
Is there anybody in the league that you could say is a more improved guy? I mean, he's got a chance at winning that, doesn't he?
I would think so. I haven't really sat down, and I don't get to vote for the awards anymore, so I can't off the top of my head think of anybody that you would immediately put ahead of him. But then again, like I said, caveat: I haven't researched, but obviously he's biased for being close to the subject. I think he certainly has to be one of the favorites.
Another guy who's continued to play well is Triple J. He's really come into his own the last 2 years. I think we know that. He first started with defense when he was Defensive Player of the Year. I think his offensive game has really improved. He's accepted physicality inside a whole lot better. There was a nice article about him recently by Chris Harrington in the Daily Memphian saying, here's a guy who could be Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star, All-NBA. I don't know that he gets to that kind of plateau, but I do think when you talk about the best players in the league, and we all sort of lean toward Morant from this team when you think about that, and I'm not belittling Ja at all, but I do think you have to put into consideration overall game of Triple J.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. I think the biggest transition in Jaren's game is that he's been much more efficient offensively. And again, kind of the same thing with Santi Aldama. This Grizzlies team, number one, will understand that their shot profile has gone from being we're going to shoot a ton of threes to we're going to shoot a reasonable amount of threes and we're going to attack more in the paint. And that's been a benefit to this team. I think it's why They're much more efficient offensively than they were last year. And, Jaren doesn't take as many threes maybe as he did a year ago. He's worked very hard on his finishes in the paint. He's worked not only on moves, but counter moves. And I think he has done a wonderful job in figuring out how to get to his sweet spot to get the shot that is most efficient for him. And sometimes that's not a three-point shot. Sometimes that's get to the elbow, get to the dotted line, turn over a shoulder, hook with either hand. And he has been very, very efficient with that. He's shooting a career-high percentage from the floor, and now we're starting to see the steals and blocks numbers come up. So I think he's having, arguably the best season of his career.
Brandon Clark, the last week or two, seems to be returning to form that he did prior to his Achilles injury. He I thought, struggled at the very beginning of the year. What's your sense of BC?
I think he's just become more confident. Look, when you come back from an Achilles injury, I've never done that, but I can imagine that you go from having an Achilles rupture to playing NBA basketball. There's a level, you need to have a level of confidence that you're not going to hurt yourself again, and that it's going to hold up. And I think it may have taken Brandon a little time to get through that. The other piece of it, and I talked to Taylor Jenkins about this, about BC, and he says, well, we're running fewer pick and rolls, and he's really a pick and roll offensive player. That is where he is very, very effective, and the Grizzlies have run less pick and roll, and so the Grizzlies are trying to figure out ways where they can use him, even if it's not in a pick and roll. And I think on this road trip, they did a very, very good job of involving him and maybe throwing him an extra pick and roll here and there. Once you get him below the dotted line, he's going to shoot 70%. And right now, the Grizzlies, I was just looking at the numbers in preparation for tomorrow's game. Last year, the Grizzlies shot 61% in the restricted area. Mm-hmm. That was 29th in the NBA. This year, they're shooting 73%, and they lead the league.
Wow!
Now
that's
What
do you attribute that to?
It's the offense. It's the attacks of the paint. Whether that's Jaren or BC, some of this. I think there's still some statistical carryover from when Zach Edey was playing, and hopefully he'll be back. Sooner rather than later. Morant, obviously, Pippen going to the rim, more guys going to the rim. It's a greater share of shots in the paint than they did last year. And I think it's just the way the offense is structured now, where you have five guys moving, guys without the ball getting a piece of the paint, backdoor cuts, all these things. I think just the way the offense is being run suits this basketball team very well.
Well, that makes the most sense to me, because normally if you take more shots from a particular area, you're going to make less just because of the volume. And in this case, they're better shots, and it's the structure of the offense and more people involved, I think. So you can't just take one guy away. It is a thing of beauty, and the way they changed it, you got to give the staff a whole lot of credit for coming up with new ideas in this new league, or the new way it's played, and excelling at it.
Yeah, because, to be 17-8 and you're not shooting a ton of threes like Boston or some other teams, it's just a different way. I mean, their share of shots in the paint has gone up, and their accuracy has gone up. So, you play with pace, your pace, your ability to be more accurate in the paint can make up for the fact that you may not make more threes than the other team. Now, having said that, anytime the Grizzlies make more threes than their opponents, they're undefeated. So they've done a good job of balancing. I think the paint attacks, the threes, still not a lot in the mid-range, but their dominance in the paint is a big reason why they have been as successful as they have been.
We got a surprise in the Emirates NBA Cup. Here's Atlanta and Milwaukee, two teams, both 2 games over 500. No Boston, defending champion. No Cleveland, best record in the league. They didn't make it. 2 teams that had struggled early on, particularly Milwaukee. And they are in the Cup's crazy. The Lakers won it last year with a team that I didn't think was that great a basketball team, and that played out toward the end of the year. You got Houston and OKC. That's the best team in the West against Houston, tied with the Grizz for the second best record. So that's not as shocking as Atlanta, Milwaukee. What is it about this Cup?
Well, I always go back to the fact that the Grizzlies last year played 2 games in succession at Portland. One was a cup game, one was not. Of course, they win the one that is not a cup game, and they lose the one that is a cup game. And the same thing happened this year with Denver. So, it's matchups. It's who happens to be in your group. And last night, New York got a great first half from Karl Anthony Towns, and then they just disappeared in the second half, and they were chucking threes and not making them. And Trae Young took it over, and I think Trae really relishes the role of being a villain in New York.
Oh, he does.
He played fantastic in that second half.
He was funny. He was skipping. He took the ball, bounced it on the circle, and then pretended he was rolling dice like he was already in Vegas. He was trying to egg on the crowd. There's no question about it. Your thoughts on the Steve Kerr press conference afterwards, walking out mad about the loose ball foul 80 feet away from the basket?
Well, Steve is one of the most noted critics of officiating in our league, and they've won their championships, and they feel that they should get calls, and it's just Steve being Steve. I mean, there was the one game where there was a timeout. That would have been an excessive timeout from an opponent, and it wasn't granted, and he was upset about that. So I mean, he doesn't shy away from digging into the officials every chance he can, and whether that's a competitive advantage or whatever, it's kind of the way Steve rolls.
Does he get fined for that?
It's entirely possible given his track record.
He said middle school referees would have gotten that call, right?
Yeah, then like I said, in his track record too. I think there's going to be a call from Joe Dumars and a request for a check.
Last thing, who wins this thing? Is it going to be Oak City, Houston, Atlanta, Milwaukee? Who ends up with the cup?
I'm going to say Milwaukee against Oklahoma City in the final, and I think Oklahoma City is going to win it. I mean, clearly they're one of the best, if not the best, teams in the league right now. And that, no disrespect to Cleveland, I think probably Cleveland and Oklahoma City, East and West, are the 2 best teams. So I think Oak City is going to take it, but you never count out Milwaukee, depending if Chris Middleton is healthy and can be productive for them. And any team with Giannis is very, very dangerous. I think I have Milwaukee and OKC in the final, and I think I'm going to take OKC.
All right, there it is. Mr. Pranica has spoken. My friend, take it easy. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
Sounds good, Wolo.
All right, there's the voice of the Grizzlies on television. That is Pete Pranica. We pause for a second. When we come back to Baton Rouge we go. We'll talk college football playoffs. We'll talk the SEC schedule release. Lots coming your way from Ron Higgins, and he's right around the corner.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday, it's happy hour from 3 to 6. $1 off all draft games, $5 off meal drinks, $4.50 for house wine, mozzarella sticks, queso, corn dogs, and more. Friday night lights from 7 o'clock. Dining in my grill, Wednesday, 5 a.m. Free. I'll watch college football and every pro game. Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland. Highway 70, fall is football.
It's that holiday time of year. Give the gift of hearing to you or a loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today. Audient Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices. Just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to AudientHearing.com. That's AUDIEN Hearing.com. Hurry, don't miss Audient Hearing's Christmas sale live now through December 15th.
Sports and Mexican food. You can get the best of both at Los Cabos Mexican Bar and Grill on Summer near Grand. Watch all the big games and all the TVs on all the walls in Los Cabos. And enjoy premium tequila shots anytime for just $5.50. Celebrate every day with lunch specials from 10 to 3 and happy hour from 3 to 8. Lunch is just $6.75 to $10.99 and margaritas start at $4.99. Experience real Mexican cuisine along with great sports at the Los the place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Ryan Radke here from Westwood One. This week on Thursday night, longtime NFL head coach Ron Rivera joins me for the Los Angeles Rams at the San Francisco 49ers. The NFC West division race is wide open, and both teams are coming off a win. Matthew Stafford and the Rams won the first meeting, and a sweep would improve their division title hopes. Join us for all the action. Rams and the 49ers on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
Hi, I'm Rico, the founder of Rico's Hot Chicken. When we started our family restaurant, we were also raising a family. But let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Our Chase Eat card was there to reward us on all of our business needs. Now we have a private location, and we're hungry for more.
Chase Inc. Business Unlimited card. You can earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase. So your business can go more possible. Chase for business. Make more with yours. Build business owners policy. Partnership with Chase Bank. Number pricing subject to credit approval. Trust fund.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Granger. With easy access to 1 million plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call at Granger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshyn.
We are sitting in the Family Leisure Studio, and I am urging you, get out there. The Ultimate Game Room and fall sale continues. I think it's going to go through the holidays, and this is where, I mean, who wouldn't want a pool table for a Christmas present or a Hanukkah present, huh? How about shuffleboard or even an arcade game? You can make the Ultimate Game Room so easy right now with prices that are outstanding at I-40 and Whidden Road. Same thing with theater seating, overstocked, want to bring in new stuff. They got to get rid of it. They've lowered the price. Perfect weather for the fire pits. Actually, we're going to have one for New Year's Eve. That's our plan. Stay at home, get out a nice bottle of wine, maybe make s'mores, who knows. But I can tell you, it is the time to get a fire pit. 20 to 30% off, all at I-40 and Whidden Road. This Ultimate Game Room and fall sale. Hot and heavy at Family Leisure. To Baton Rouge we go. You better put it on. My thing is stuck on drop, so I don't want to hit it there. And Ron Higgins joins us now. Good morning. Did the College Football Playoff Committee, in your mind, get it correctly, Ron Higgins? Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, they did. They got it correct.
I'm with you.
The only Alabama could have got in if SMU would have played terrible, and they didn't. They lost in the last-second field goal. I was so happy for SMU got in. I was so happy. I like the field. I think they got it right, and let's have a hell of a good playoff the first time around. Let's see what happens.
So you're not upset that the Big Ten got one more team in than the SEC?
No, I'm not. I mean, Alabama and Miami were right there on the edge, and Alabama probably had the edge over Miami. But I'm not. I'm glad. Look, I don't really care about who gets more teams in, SEC or Big Ten. I just want a good field. Ohio State deserved to be in. Indiana's been consistent all year. Penn State was in the conference title game. And then Oregon won the conference. So I have no problem with that.
I agree with you. I agree with you on every front. And here's why I think SMU should be in. I don't think SMU should be punished for losing a championship game. As long as you put emphasis on playing championship games, they should have meaning, especially since they're lucrative in terms of bringing in revenue and getting eyeballs, although the numbers were not exactly stellar this year for the championships. Now, if you said to me, we're going to pick and we're going to go to 16, I think that'll happen. We're going to do away with buys. So you're really not playing any more games because the four teams are just going to play the one extra game. and you did away with conference championships, and you just said winner of the regular season gets that's the AQ, and we're going to seed not by that, but we're going to seed by what we think is the best records and the best matchups. I'm okay with that too. But if you're going to have championship games, you got to honor the sanctity of those games.
And I think they did. I think off the top of my head, I think 8 of the 12 teams were in the championship, the league championship games. The 8 of the teams they picked, I think, were in league championship games. I think that's right off the top of my head. And I know Indiana wasn't. Ohio State wasn't.
Right.
I think who else?
Well, Penn State, Oregon, there's 2. Georgia, Texas, there's 4. Clemson, SMU, there's 6. Boise is 7.
Yep.
Who are we missing? Oh, Arizona State. That's 8.
That's 8.
That's it.
So
8.
So they basically honored that. They made that basically said, if you get in the championship game with a decent record going in, you got a shot at making the playoff. Well, that's fine. I'm good with that.
Me too.
I'm fine with it. You earned your way there. You got to that point where you were in position to win a league championship, and you didn't. But you had a really good year, and your record was good enough to get you there. So good. I'm good for them. Yeah, good. I like the field. I can't wait for this thing to start. It's going to be fascinating. This is something on paper we've looked at for years, and now it's real. Now you get these great matchups all the way through. Starting in the first round, it's great matchups. So I can't wait for this thing.
I can't either. And you know what I really find interesting? CBS ranked the toughest roads. Tennessee had the toughest road, and I agree with that. You got to play Ohio State at Ohio State. If you win that, you got to play Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
If you win that, you're probably going to play most likely Texas or Arizona State. Wow. And then
I don't know if Tennessee's ever played at Ohio State. I don't think they have. Some of the teams they haven't played at is Ohio State. I know they played the Rose Bowl because I've been there with them. So, but I don't know if they played at Ohio State ever. It might be their first trip to Columbus. Yeah.
Yeah, the Memphis Tigers are playing West Virginia, and I didn't realize this. They've never played West Virginia before in football.
And unbelievable. Yeah. Wow.
So that should be a lot of fun. Along the lines of college football, we'll get to the SEC schedule release, which I thought was pretty interesting. But Bill Belichick will become the oldest college football coach at 72, 5-year deal, $50 million. He'll be 77 when it comes to an end. I'm shocked he took a college job. His dad was, by the way, an assistant coach in Chapel Hill in 52, 53 to like 55, something like that. So he was a young kid because, heck, he's only a year older than me. He was a young kid.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that UNC even hired him.
I'm a little shocked at that. I can understand why. The biggest mystery to me is why he decided to go college when he's 14 wins away from being the greatest, most wins ever in the NFL. That's shocking.
Maybe he couldn't get hired in the NFL again. But this is when I think of Bill Belichick and his personality, it goes against everything that a college coach has to be. Okay, you have to be great in living rooms with recruits. You have to go to booster club and speak and be affable and funny and have a personality. And you have to kiss the rear ends of some boosters. You got to kiss some butts to get some money. So all this stuff all the peripheral of a head college coach does, and you got to re-recruit your team every year. Every year, everybody on your team is a free agent. Bill, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You got a recruit guy for 3 years, and then they pay him more money in the last minutes. Maybe you go somewhere else, so you got to put up with that. I don't think he realizes what college coaches do now, and it's hell to be a head college football coach now. And people say that they're overpaid, not for what they do, not for what they have to hold together. They have to rebuild the team every year now, every year. And I think that's the reality of college head coaches now. What they're coming to, as they realize, I'm building this team for next year. Okay, I got a good recruiting class. That's great at high school, and hopefully I can keep them here more, 2-3 years, and have they'll up their products if they stay. but I have to win. I have to rebuild a team for what can I do to build my team for next year? I think it's what every college head coach has to do now. I think they finally realize that, and that's what they're working towards. And I don't know if he can do that. I really don't know if he can do all the peripheral stuff that's required of a college head coach, where you have to wear so many hats and have to be pleasant and have a personality, and he sure as hell doesn't.
Well, he showed he has a personality. It's a little different, but he's got one when he was doing the McAfee show or doing this stuff with Eli and Peyton on the Monday Night Football alternate cast on ESPN2. But you make the point where you got to fundraise. I don't see him being a fundraiser. He's going to try to run the team like an NFL team. He's already said that he would do that on McAfee's show. He's hired Michael Lombardi, who worked for him before, as the general manager. That's what they're using as the term. That's his job description. He's a general manager. He's the guy that's going to have to go kiss behind.
LSU has one of those. They have a general manager, So, I just have a hard time, believing.
So you think this will fail?
Yeah, I do. I just, unless he gets so much help at the peripheral stuff, I can't see how he can make it. And honestly, college offenses are so much more diverse than the pros. Pros basically use the same offense. Everybody uses the same offense basically in pros. Everybody. It's just the little variation. Everybody uses the same offense. In college, people use all kinds of different stuff, a bunch of different stuff. So that'll be interesting to see how he handles that, too.
I got a feeling that won't be a problem. I think the X's and O's part he's going to handle just absolutely perfect. I don't know how this plays out. I think it's interesting. They took a guy 1 year younger than Mac Brown when they said Mac Brown was too old. So we'll see. I'm also a little surprised that Rich Rodriguez is going back to West Virginia since they're split. I don't know how many was that. A bunch of years ago, at least seven, where he went to Michigan. Now he's been at Jacksonville State, and they killed. They kill somebody in the CUSA title game, 52-12. Was that Western Kentucky they beat like that?
Jacksonville State beat Western Kentucky. Yeah.
Is Rich Rod the answer? Of course, the Tigers are going to face the group that is not going to be led by him. The OC is going to be doing that game. I guess he'll be sort of doing an audition for the new head coach. But are you surprised Rich Rodriguez is going to be back in Morgantown?
Well, no, I mean, obviously he wanted to go back. Maybe he had regrets in leaving. So I guess that means Nick Saban's going to come back to LSU.
Well, he's a native of West Virginia, as is actually Nick Saban.
Yeah. Exactly. They are. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. SEC schedule release. Texas and Georgia are going to play again. Tennessee is going to play Georgia in Knoxville really early in the season. It's either the second or the third week. Florida and Tennessee is going to be the second or the last week. What were your biggest takeaways from the reveal?
Basically they used this year's schedule and just flopped with slide the games. But they moved some games around the schedule to where they're playing, so it wasn't anything too exotic. Again, this is whoever everybody played at home this year, they play on the road next year, and vice versa. So, right. But I'll maybe after this year they'll get to see how they tweak the schedule some more.
Missouri got every game, 8 games at home, the 4 conference games, and then the 4 non-conference at home. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I know LSU does. I know they play. LSU opens at Clemson next year.
I saw that. I mean, there's a lot. Texas is at Ohio State, so that'll be a tough game for them. LSU's at Clemson.
Never been there. Never played at Clemson. Yeah.
Tennessee's playing Syracuse in Atlanta. I don't remember them ever playing before.
Yeah, they have. I was at the game. They played in there. They played the national championship here. The first game of the year they played at Syracuse, and they got bailed out by a pass interference call that set them up for the game-winning field goal. That was the first game of the national championship. Honestly, that was their closest game until the Arkansas game. They could have lost the opener real easy. So they played Syracuse one time, at least I know.
Michigan at Oklahoma, that's an interesting game. Maybe the best one. A&M at Notre Dame.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of that return game from this year. They played Notre Dame this year. Yeah, I think they did. Yeah. So yeah, LSU and Clemson was scheduled a long time ago. LSU really has some really good non-conference openers scheduled in the future. And this is kind of like the start of them. They had Oklahoma as a home and home before that. Oklahoma joined the SEC, so they were going to play Oklahoma regardless. But this is good. This is good. I mean, it's good for college football to get these matchups. You don't have to wait to, if they're put together maybe in bowl games or playoffs or whatever. It's nice to have them during the year. It really is. I mean, I still feel the need that people have to play teams you can beat to get better, because it gives those teams a payday, and it also gives those programs a chance to keep their programs alive. Honestly, I know people don't look at it that way, but I look at it like, you get a nice guarantee, and it helps your budget of your program, especially if you're a mid-major or a Division I AA. And I know people frown on that, but they get a nice payday, and it keeps their program alive. And I guess for the health of college football, you like to have everybody, still have a program and not go under.
Next week, we'll break them down. Clemson and Texas, Tennessee, Ohio State, SMU, Penn State, and the Notre Dame, Indiana game. I can't wait to do that with you. Have a great rest of your week. We'll chat next Thursday.
All right, well, take care. We'll see you.
You too. That is Ron Higgins, our SEC historian down in Baton Rouge. When we come back, we head downtown. We'll talk to Jarvo, a little Frisco Bowl, a little Grizz, maybe some Tiger Hoops. That all comes your way in just a moment.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Guns, guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Old defense guns, home guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections, appraisals, and free border sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsInMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Georgia Parkway behind Corky's Barbecue in Cordova.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? We have it covered at Humminger's. It's quick, it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. Many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humminger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humminger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
For over 8 decades, America's farmers have counted on the little red tractor from Case IH, the Farm Law, to help them make short work of their demanding chores. Mid-South Ag can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horsepower ranging from 30 to 105, plus an army of attachments, they can tackle every chore on your to-do list. From hauling and mowing to loading and towing and then some. Stop by Mid-South Ag Equipment or call 662-890-3141 to find a Case IH Farm Law that's right for you.
The holidays are near, and Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Generators is here to make this season extra cozy and cheerful. For the first 50 customers who purchase a new carrier system, tankless water heater, or a whole home generator, we have a special gift for you. Choose from a $500 gift card or 60 months no interest financing. And don't forget about Choate's Refer a Friend referral program, where you can earn up to $500. Simply refer a friend to use our services, and if they become a customer, you can earn up to a $500 Visa gift card. But hurry, this festive offer will only last through December 20th. Visit ChoatesHVAC.com or call 347-8086 to schedule your free estimate today. And turn to the experts with Choates and let our family serve your family this holiday season.
Walk through entertainment extravaganza with hundreds of giant 3D Christmas-like displays, photos with Santa, food and drinks, and special event nights including fireworks on New Year's Eve. New this year is a winter-inspired 18-hole miniature golf course. Bring the family out nightly through January 1st. Go to lightcards.online for details and to buy tickets. Now stay tuned to Sports 56 and 98.5 FM for chances to win tickets to go through the light card.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here's the voice of the Tigers, Wolo Show.
Let's head downtown, chat with our friend Jarvis Greer, the Hall of Famer, joins us now. Jarvo, you are gearing up like I am. We're going to know a little bit more in about 15 minutes or so, but we meet with coaches today. In Frisco, it's the Scooters Bowl with West Virginia. First time the Tigers ever played. West Virginia, team that was 6-6 on the year and fired their coach, but they got a new coach who will be watching in an older guy that was there before. West Virginia native Rich Rodriguez is going to be their coach. Neil Brown was fired. I think the Tigers are actually fired up. I know Ryan Silverfield was on Greg and Eli this morning. He talked a little bit about this, and I think it's going to be a good game. Tigers are actually favored in this matchup with a Power Four.
Well, first of all, let me say I see what you did there with the intro music. That's pretty cool. I like that. That's pretty cool.
That's Brian. Brian Dacus did that.
Yeah, we're telling little David Bowie, not bad. But I think having spoken with a couple of the coordinators on Monday when they had their media gathering, they said the guys are ready to go, and that's a great thing. And I think for West Virginia, having Rich Rod back in the program, they are they're all on audition. All those players are on audition, for him. From what I understand, is they hadn't had that many people opt out yet. So. Hopefully both teams will be as full strength as possible, and we can get a really good game out of this. West Virginia, even though they finished 6-6, they finished 5-4 in the Big 12. So they had a winning record in that league, and that is a Power 4 league. So could be a really good matchup for Memphis.
I like it when you take on a team that had a coach that is no longer there. I watched. I watched when Fuente left. The Tigers were terrible in the bowl. I watched when we went to the Cotton Bowl, although they gave him a pretty good game with Ryan Silverfield. But normally, when there's an interim coach, that team loses its bowl game. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, that is there, and that could be. But and people are saying, West Virginia did 6-6, and how come Memphis couldn't get a better bowl? And I forget who it was did the article, Daily Memphian. That just chronicled all the machinations that were involved and how this bowl game came about. And, I was thinking that Memphis maybe could get the Gasparilla Bowl, but apparently that was out from the beginning. I think they wanted Tulane from the start. And because, if they had waited till after the last regular season game, maybe Memphis could have popped in there. But I think they had already made up their mind who they wanted for that game. Tulane's going to play Florida there. And I think that would have also been a really good matchup. But, it is what it is.
That would have met the criteria. Power 4, pre-Christmas. It's on the 20th.
Right.
And it's against Florida.
And it's a Florida bowl, and it's in Florida, so It's warm. So, that would have really met the criteria. But, it is what it is. And I think one thing Dr. Ed Scott, the athletic director of Memphis, pointed out is the fact that you've already got the kids on campus. You don't have to keep them over, so you're not paying that. All the bowl money that you get, you got to pay to house the players, feed the players, do all those other things, and not just on campus. Then you're paying for your hotel basically. None of that stuff. It's not like the NCAA tournament where the NCAA pretty much handles that. It all comes out of your bowl a lot.
Since you mentioned weather and warm, I just looked up forecast for Dallas. Okay.
Yeah. I've been watching it all week.
Believe it or not, Tuesday, when the Tigers play now, it's late at night. The high that day is 60 degrees. The low's only 47, and it's a partly cloudy prediction. The rain comes the next day, So this could be very comfortable for the Memphis fans to make that drive if they choose to do that.
Well, it sounds a lot like it was for Tulane down in New Orleans. You know, that it was about 65 down there, and it got into the 40s by the time the game ended. But it was great because the Tigers were red hot, and it was a great game down there in New Orleans. And like I said, this is not a bad drive. You can drive or fly. It's a what do you call it? Nonstop. I don't know how many nonstops there are to Dallas. I think there are 4 from Memphis during the day, and also it's about a 7-hour drive depending on. You stop in Texarkana, get something to eat on the way, and so it's not a bad drive. Memphians are used to making that drive. I don't know how many people will come from West Virginia, for the game, but hopefully we can paint that stadium blue and gray. And by the way, the stadium there is an MLS facility. It's very nice. My son played in there. He played soccer at Memphis, and in soccer you can play scrimmage professional teams, and they scrimmaged FC Dallas down there. And it's a really, really nice facility. The sidelines are great. It seats about 20,500, I think is what it is. Big concourses. Everything's really great. And Frisco's an area like it's really built up with shops and restaurants and hotels and things like that.
It's where the Star is. The Cowboys have helped to build up Frisco. It's very cool. There are good hotels. There are a lot of restaurants. This stadium you will not be able to be. I don't think they've ever had a crowd for the stadium that's more than 17,000 or so. It seats 20 for this bowl game. Which by the way, it's not the first time we actually played in this bowl game. Do you realize that?
It was the Miami Beach Bowl.
Correct.
It was originally the Miami Beach Bowl.
Yeah.
And so that brought back great memories. I don't know if we'll have the fight to cap it off, but, Memphis beat BYU in the Miami Beach Bowl.
We ought to bring back Alan Cross for that, shouldn't we?
Oh, yeah, the Millington Motorman. Yeah, we definitely should. If we could bring Jake Elliott back, that would be great.
Yeah.
I think he kicked a 58-yarder in the second overtime to force the triple overtime. And that was I think that was the bowl of the year that year. ESPN voted that game bowl of the year. Tigers won at 55-48, I believe.
In OT.
Kewan Malone with a big touchdown catch there for the game winner. It was just a great deal. But for some reason, they did not want to continue playing there in the Marlins Stadium, which was odd, but it was a great setting because out of the opening of the back end of the stadium, you could see downtown Miami, which is fabulous, by the way. And they really treated us well down at that bowl.
Oh yeah.
So I think the players are going to go on the 14th, and they've got all kind of activities planned for them. They'll get to practice at the Star facility and their indoor facility down there where the Cowboys train. So it'll be a good. I think everybody gets cowboy hats. So that'll be pretty good.
Oh, really? I did not know that. You get a cowboy hat if you play. I thought you got free coffee. I didn't understand you got a cowboy hat.
Oh, yeah. All the players, all staff, they get cowboy hats. I remember they sent out a thing with, what is your hat size? I don't think we get it.
No.
As part of the radio crew, but the players do.
Right.
And so, I just hope it will at least be as good. The last trip to Dallas for a bowl game was the First Responder Bowl. Tigers won that over Utah State. This one here, you've got a Power 4 opponent, and hopefully, you'll go ahead and get that scalp.
Tigers basketball team plays Saturday morning, by the way. We should point this out. It's a 10 o'clock game in Memphis. Early, 11 o'clock, where they'll be playing in Clemson, where Clemson, I think the last time they played at home, they beat Kentucky. So
Clemson's good.
This is going to be a lot of fun. Maybe they will be emotionally spent. A lot of people think it's so early, and I think they're starting their break already. The students might not be there, or it's final exams, something of that nature. Are the Tigers going to rebound against Clemson?
Oh, well, let's hope so. My wife and I, we celebrate our 35th anniversary at the game. We buy tickets. We support the school. We sat in Pinnacle level. We hadn't sat there in a while for that Arkansas State game, and it's like, oh, my God, what a great way to celebrate your anniversary. Go up there and see them lose to A-State. Nothing against A-State. They played really, really well, and hopefully they'll go on to win their league. They were picked to do so. But, that was just a stinker. That was one game that just man, where did this team come from? Usually the first 3 games of the year, I think they had a bad first half and then came out gangbusters. In the second half, they scored like 50 points, plus 50 points in the first 3 games in the second half, but it was just bad all the way around. So hopefully that was the one game this year And Penny said that this team ain't last year's team. So, I'm going to take him at his word for that because I think these guys genuinely like each other, and it was just a bad outing for Memphis. And, they're going on the road. It's easy to get up for Clemson, and you're going to be definitely in a hostile environment. So
they'll be up for it. I don't think that'll be a problem. They'll be up for it, but this is going to be a very, very difficult game. Those guys are really good inside. That is for sure. All right, last thing, 30 seconds. That's all you got. Tell me, when will Zach Edey be back? I know you've got the insight. You work for Grind City Media.
Well, don't have that much insight, but I did see that Coach Taylor Jenkins said that, he is now starting to ramp up his workouts. He's worked out with the Hustle some already. And then once they do that, that means it can't be more than a couple of days away. They've had a good break here after, that sweep they did on the East Coast, beating Boston and Washington. And now they come back. They're second in the West, and they're pretty much looking like the team that we thought they'd look like, and they're not even all whole yet. We still haven't seen G.G. Jackson suit up. Vince Williams only played a week, and Zach Edey, who is up on the top rookie charts, has been getting better. So we'll see, Dave.
We shall see. That is for sure. My friend, I will see you in a few minutes with the coaches' meetings, and we'll talk again next Thursday.
All right, I'm about to pull into campus right now. See you when you get here.
There you go. That's Jarvis Greer on a myriad of topics. We'll have to make NFL picks tomorrow since there won't be any
Army
college
Navy
football. Well, we do.
Right.
We'll do Army Navy. I like that. I think that might be pretty easy.
Well, yeah.
We'll see. And NFL stuff. Andy Schiffman. We got the roundtable. We'll look forward to tomorrow. We look forward to Johnny Radio. He comes your way in a minute. Have a great day, everybody.